What if the person you trusted most betrayed you? What if your own mother sold you to a stranger, while you couldn't even see the world around you? This is where Lila's story begins. Lila was 19, a fragile girl with soft brown hair and eyes that never opened to the light. She had been blind since birth. Yet, her heart was brighter than the sun. She smiled often, even when her life was not easy. Her mother, Clara, raised her alone after her father abandoned them. Lila loved her mother deeply. She believed her mother's hands were the safest place in the world. She believed that no matter how poor they were, love would always protect them. But love can sometimes be a mask. Their home was nothing more than a small, broken-down apartment. The roof leaked in the rain, the nights were cold, and food was never enough. Still, Lila never complained. She often touched her mother's tired face and whispered, "One day, I'll be strong enough to take care of you, Mama." Her mother would always sigh and reply, "Yes, Lila, one day." But in her eyes, there was no love, only resentment. For Clara, Lila was not a blessing. She was a burden. A blind daughter meant endless responsibility, endless shame. Men left Clara. Neighbors pitied her. Debt swallowed her. And each day, she grew colder. Until one night, desperation turned into cruelty. It was raining hard. The thunder shook the small apartment. Lila sat on the floor, humming softly, her hands tracing the edge of her broken braille book. "Mama," she asked gently, "will we be okay? You sound worried these days." Clara didn't answer. She stood by the window, biting her nails, her mind racing. That afternoon, she had met a man in a black car. A man who promised her money in exchange for something she never thought she'd give. But now, the idea seemed less cruel. Because in her eyes, Lila was already nothing. "Lila," she said suddenly, forcing a smile, "get dressed. We're going out." Lila's head tilted in surprise. "Out? At this hour?" "Yes. Someone important wants to meet you." The girl's heart lifted with innocent hope. "Really? Is it someone who can give me a job? Someone who can help us?" Her mother swallowed. "Yes, something like that." Lila felt around for her old coat, pulling it tightly over her thin frame. She held her mother's hand, trusting, warm. The rain splashed against their skin as they hurried down the street. Lila laughed softly, lifting her face to the sound of water. "It feels like the sky is crying, Mama." Clara didn't reply. Her grip only tightened. A black car waited at the corner. Its engine hummed low, dangerous. The driver stepped out, holding an umbrella. Without a word, Clara guided her daughter into the back seat. Lila's heart raced, nervous but excited. She thought this was the start of a better life. The ride was long. She tried to ask questions, but her mother stayed silent. The sound of rain mixed with the silence until finally, the car stopped. When the door opened, Lila smelled something unfamiliar: expensive cologne, polished wood, and roses. A hand, firm and cold, guided her out. "Here she is," Clara's voice said flatly. "Payment?" a deep male voice asked. Clara's tone shifted, hungry, desperate. "Yes. As we agreed." Coins and paper rustled. Money changed hands. Lila frowned, confused. "Mama? What's happening?" But her mother didn't answer. Instead, she leaned down and kissed her daughter's forehead. The kiss was cold, empty. Then she whispered, almost harshly, "Be good. Stay quiet." The sound of heels walking away pierced the night. The car door slammed shut. Lila reached out blindly. "Mama? Mama, where are you? Don't leave me." But Clara was gone. In her place stood a tall man. His presence was heavy, commanding. His voice was low, carrying no warmth. "From now on, you belong to me." The words struck her like thunder. Belong? To him? Her chest tightened, fear flooding her veins. Who are you? Where's my mother? The man didn't answer. His hand gripped hers firmly, pulling her forward. His touch was not gentle, it was ownership. Tears welled in Lila's eyes though she could not see the stranger's face. Please, don't take me. Mama. Mama. But the only reply was silence. That was the night Lila's world ended. She didn't know yet that the man who had taken her wasn't just any stranger. He was Ethan Blackwood, a CEO feared across the country. A man with wealth, power, and a heart made of steel. And she didn't know that her life was about to be completely altered. She was blind, helpless, and betrayed by her own mother. Now, in the hands of a stranger, her life was no longer her own. But who was this man, and what did he want from her? The sound of heavy footsteps echoed against marble floors as Lila was pulled inside the mansion. Her thin shoes clicked against stone, and the scent of polished wood, fresh roses, and expensive perfume filled her nose. It felt nothing like the small apartment she had lived in her entire life. This place smelled too clean, too large, too cold. The stranger's hand never loosened from her wrist. His grip was strong, unyielding, as if she were a possession, not a human being. Lila stumbled as he led her deeper inside, her free hand reaching into the air for something familiar to hold on to, but there was only emptiness. Where am I?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The man finally stopped. His voice came, deep and steady, like steel scraping against stone. "You are in my house. And from tonight onward, you belong here." Lila's heart pounded. Belong here? I don't understand. Please. I need my mother. Where is she? Why did she leave me? His silence was sharp, like a knife. Then he said coldly, "She sold you. For money." The word sliced through her chest. Sold. The one word that destroyed her heart in an instant. Her lips trembled. No, that can't be true. Mama loves me. She would never. She did, he cut her off. Do not waste your tears for someone who threw you away. Lila shook her head violently, tears spilling down her cheeks. Her hands trembled as she reached out into the emptiness around her. No. Mama, please don't leave me. Please come back. But there was no reply. Only silence. Only the stranger's cold presence. Her knees gave way, and she collapsed to the floor, covering her face with her hands. She cried like a broken child, her sobs filling the massive empty room. For the first time in her life, she felt truly abandoned. The man stood above her, unmoving, his expression unreadable. He had seen many women cry before, but something about her tears felt different. They were pure. They were real. But he quickly pushed the thought away. I am not here to comfort you, he said. His words were like ice. You will stay here. You will obey me. That is all you need to understand. Lila lifted her head toward the voice, though her blind eyes could not see him. Why me? Why did you buy me? What do you want from me? He didn't answer immediately. For a moment, he simply looked at her. Her face was delicate, her tears shining on pale cheeks, her blind eyes wide with fear and confusion. She was nothing like the women who usually surrounded him. Finally, he said flatly, "You are payment. Your mother owed me, and now you will repay her debt." Her breath caught. Repay? But I don't even know how. I can't even see. I'm worthless to you. His eyes narrowed, and his tone sharpened. Never call yourself worthless. You will serve me as I wish. That is enough. Her heart raced, terror mixing with confusion. She had no choice. She was trapped. The man finally released her wrist, and she stumbled back slightly, clutching her coat around her. The silence of the mansion pressed down on her like a heavy blanket. She whispered, almost to herself, "I don't even know your name." The stranger's reply was firm, almost commanding. Ethan. Ethan Blackwood. The name meant nothing to her, but in the outside world, Ethan Blackwood was known by everyone. The ruthless CEO of Blackwood Enterprises. A man who crushed competitors without mercy, who built empires from ashes, who never smiled. People feared him. Women chased him. But none truly knew him. And now, the blind girl with nothing had been thrown into his world. Ethan turned away. "Follow me." Lila hesitated but stood, her hands reaching out into the air. She couldn't see where to go. The sound of his footsteps grew distant. Panic rose in her chest. "Wait. Please. I can't see. I can't." Before she could finish, a firm hand caught hers again. Ethan's. Her breath hitched. His touch was steady, powerful, different from her mother's gentle hand. But it wasn't tender, it was control. Still, it was something to hold on to. He guided her through long hallways, past the faint echo of servants whispering in fear. Finally, they stopped in a quiet room. He pushed the door open, and the scent of lavender filled her nose. "This is your room," he said. Her head turned toward the sound. "My room?" "Yes. From now on, you will stay here. Do not leave without my permission." Lila touched the edge of the bed, the smooth sheets beneath her fingers. It felt too soft, too rich for someone like her. "I don't belong here," she whispered. Ethan's reply was sharp. "You don't belong anywhere else either." The words stung, but deep down, she knew he was right. She had nowhere to go. No one waiting for her. She was blind, abandoned, and alone. He turned to leave, but her trembling voice stopped him. "Why me? Of all people, why did it have to be me?" For the first time, his voice softened slightly, almost like a whisper. "Because fate put you here." The door closed behind him, leaving her in silence. Lila curled up on the bed, hugging herself. Tears slid down her cheeks as she whispered to the darkness, "Why, Mama? Why did you leave me? What will happen to me now?" But the darkness gave no answers. That night, Lila cried herself to sleep. And outside, Ethan stood in the hallway, his jaw tight. He had promised himself long ago never to let a woman's tears move him. But for some reason, the sound of her sobbing stayed in his ears long after he walked away. She was sold like an object. Now she lived in the house of a man feared by the entire city. But what kind of life would the cruel CEO give to a blind girl who had no choice but to obey? The morning sun rose over the Blackwood estate, its golden light spilling across gardens that stretched wider than entire city blocks. But inside Lila's room, no light touched her world. She sat quietly on the edge of the bed, her hands folded tightly in her lap. The silence was overwhelming. Back in her old home, there had always been the faint sound of neighbors arguing, children laughing, or her mother humming while cooking. Here, there was only emptiness. The door creaked open. Lila turned her blind eyes toward the sound. It was Ethan. His footsteps were slow, measured. His very presence filled the room with power, even when he said nothing. "You're awake," he said flatly. "Yes," she whispered, unsure if she should say more. There was a pause. "You will eat breakfast in the dining hall. Come." Lila hesitated, standing slowly. Her hands reached out until she found the edge of the bed, then the wall. She took a small, unsure step. Ethan's cold voice cut in. "You'll get lost walking like that. Give me your hand." Her lips parted slightly, surprised. She lifted her hand hesitantly, and once again, his strong fingers wrapped around hers. They were warm, steady, and commanding. He led her through the hallways until the smell of food reached her nose. The dining table was massive, far too large for just two people. Servants stood silently nearby, waiting for orders. Ethan guided her to a chair. "Sit." She lowered herself carefully, her fingers brushing the polished wood. Soon, a plate was placed before her. She could smell freshly baked bread, eggs, and something sweet. Her cheeks burned. "I I can't eat neatly on my own. I don't want to embarrass you. Ethan's brow furrowed. You'll eat. No excuses. With trembling hands, she tried to cut the food. The fork slipped. She fumbled, dropping it onto the plate with a soft clang. Her cheeks turned red with shame. She heard a chair scrape back. A moment later, Ethan's hand was over hers, guiding the knife and fork. She froze, breath caught in her throat. His voice was low, firm, but softer than before. Hold it like this. Slowly. Now cut. Together, they managed a clean slice. See, he said. Lila bit her lip, then whispered, "Thank you." He pulled his hand back instantly, his tone returning to its icy edge. Don't misunderstand. I don't care if you eat or starve. But I won't tolerate incompetence in my house. Her heart sank, but she nodded silently. As she ate, Ethan watched her closely. She was nothing like the women he knew. They were polished, ambitious, manipulative. This girl was fragile, but not fake. She wasn't pretending. She was just surviving. After breakfast, he stood. From now on, you'll follow rules. Do not wander the house without permission. Do not question me. And above all, do not expect kindness. Her blind eyes faced him, her voice trembling but sincere. I never asked for kindness. I only want to understand why this is happening to me. Ethan's chest tightened for a fraction of a second, but he quickly masked it. Then understand this, you are here because your mother sold you. That is all. He turned and walked away, leaving her with a heart that felt heavier than before. But deep inside, though he refused to admit it, her soft words echoed in his mind. Every night, she whispered to herself in the dark. Every day, he reminded himself never to feel. But sometimes, even the coldest hearts are shaken by a fragile soul. Days turned into weeks. Lila's life in the Blackwood mansion followed a strange rhythm. Every morning, Ethan's footsteps echoed down the hall, his voice calm but cold as he gave her instructions. She learned where the furniture stood, memorized the path to the garden, and practiced moving without stumbling. But every night, when the house grew quiet, she sat on her bed, hugging her knees. The silence pressed down on her, heavier than chains. Sometimes, she whispered into the emptiness. Why, Mama? Why did you leave me? Am I really worth nothing? Her tears soaked the pillow, but no one came. One evening, Lila wandered into the garden with the help of a servant. The scent of roses surrounded her, and the air was cool against her face. She touched the petals gently, smiling faintly at the softness beneath her fingers. Then her foot caught a stone. She stumbled, falling forward with a small cry. Before she hit the ground, strong arms caught her. Her face pressed against a broad chest, and she heard his voice, sharp, yet shaken. Careless, Ethan muttered. Lila's cheeks burned as she clutched his shirt. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. Don't apologize, he interrupted. His voice was low. Just be more careful. For a moment, neither moved. Her small frame rested against his chest, and his heart, which never betrayed him, suddenly pounded faster. He set her down gently. His tone turned harsh again. Stay inside after dark. Don't make me waste my time again. But when he turned to leave, Lila whispered softly, "Thank you." He froze. Something in that word pierced through the armor he had built for years. He walked away quickly, but her voice lingered. That night, Ethan sat in his study, staring at the fire. He poured himself a glass of whiskey but didn't drink. His thoughts replayed the way she smiled faintly even after falling, the way she whispered her gratitude. Why did her words matter? She was just a debt. A fragile, blind girl. Nothing more. And yet. The next morning, he ordered the chef to prepare foods that were easier for her to eat. He didn't explain why. When servants whispered about her, he silenced them with one look. When Lila asked timidly if she could hear the piano in the grand hall, he didn't say no. He sat her down beside it, placed her hand on the keys, and told her which notes she was pressing. She laughed softly, and for the first time in years, Ethan almost smiled. A man who swore he would never feel, and a girl who could not see. What happens when fate forces them closer than either ever expected? The mansion was always silent. Its grand halls echoed with emptiness, much like the man who owned it. Ethan Cross was known across the city as a ruthless CEO who cared for nothing but power and control. But lately, the silence of his house had been disturbed by the soft footsteps of a blind girl and her gentle voice. One evening, Lila sat in the garden again. The fragrance of jasmine filled the air. She tilted her face up toward the warmth of the sun, though her eyes could not see it. Ethan stood at a distance, watching her quietly. He told himself he was only checking on her, making sure she wasn't about to stumble again. But the truth was, something about her drew him closer. "Mr. Cross?" she asked softly, turning her head toward where she thought he might be. "Yes?" His voice was calm, deep. "Can you tell me what the sky looks like right now?" Ethan hesitated. He had never been asked such a question. Most people wanted numbers, contracts, money. Not the color of the sky. He paused, then said slowly, "It's painted with gold. The sun is setting. There's fire at the horizon, fading into purple." Lila smiled faintly. "It sounds beautiful." He frowned. "You can't even see it." "I don't need to," she whispered. "Your words paint the picture for me." For the first time in years, Ethan felt his chest tighten. He didn't know why her words mattered. Days later, another moment shook him. Lila had been trying to pour herself a glass of water in the kitchen. Her hands fumbled, and the glass tipped, spilling across the counter. She gasped, her blind eyes filling with shame. "I'm sorry. I made a mess." Before she could clean it, Ethan's hand reached out, steadying hers. He picked up the glass and refilled it calmly. "No need to apologize," he said quietly. Lila tilted her head, surprised. "But I thought you hate mistakes." He paused. His reputation was built on perfection, on punishing failure. But with her, the words slipped out differently. "Not yours," he murmured. She smiled, her heart warming. "You're not as cruel as you want people to believe." Ethan froze, then pulled his hand back. "Don't assume things about me." But deep down, he knew she was right. That night, as he lay in bed, Ethan asked himself why he cared if she spilled water, or smiled at his words. His life had been built on control and coldness. Yet this blind girl was breaking through, one soft word at a time. And he was helpless to stop it. She could not see the world. But slowly, he began to show it to her. Through his voice, his touch, and his heart. The mansion's grand hall had a piano, untouched for years. One afternoon, Ethan found Lila standing near it, her fingers lightly brushing the smooth keys. "Do you play?" he asked. Lila jumped slightly, startled by his voice. I used to. When I was younger. But after I lost my sight, I stopped." "Why?" She lowered her head. "Because Mama said it was useless. That music wouldn't feed us. That no one would ever listen to a blind girl playing." Ethan's jaw clenched. Her words cut deeper than he expected. He sat down at the piano bench and took her hand gently. "Sit," he ordered. Hesitant, she lowered herself beside him. Her fingers hovered over the keys nervously. "Play," he said. I can't. I'll sound terrible. I'll be the judge of that." Lila took a shaky breath and pressed a few notes. Slowly, a melody formed, fragile, uneven, but beautiful. Ethan sat in silence, listening as her fingers found confidence. The music filled the empty mansion, bringing warmth it had never known. When she finished, she whispered, "It's not good." Ethan's voice was unusually soft. It's the most honest music I've ever heard. Her cheeks warmed. Thank you. For the next days, he encouraged her. He described colors she could not see, paintings on the walls, the shape of the flowers in the garden. He let her feel the carved wood of the piano, the smooth surface of marble, the velvet of the curtains. Through his words, she began to imagine the world again. And through her laughter, he began to feel alive again. But one night, Lila sat awake, whispering to herself. Why is he helping me? Why does he care? He says he's cruel, but his heart is not cruel. And in another part of the mansion, Ethan sat in his study, whispering too. Why does her smile matter to me? Why can't I stop thinking about her? They were both changing. Neither wanted to admit it. Just when happiness began to bloom, the ghost of her past returned, the very person who had betrayed her first. The days were lighter now. The mansion echoed with Lila's soft music, her gentle laughter, and the sound of Ethan's voice guiding her through things she had once thought impossible. But one afternoon, that fragile peace was shattered. A servant rushed into Ethan's office. Sir, a woman is at the gate. She claims to be Miss Lila's mother. Ethan's expression darkened instantly. At the front hall, Lila stood frozen, her blind eyes wide as she recognized the familiar voice. Lila. My sweet daughter. It's Mama. Her knees trembled. Mama. The woman rushed forward, clutching her hands dramatically. Oh, how I've missed you. I was so poor, so desperate. I made mistakes. But now, I'm here to take you back. Lila's heart twisted. Despite everything, a part of her still longed for her mother's love. Mama, you sold me. Her mother's eyes flickered with guilt, but she forced a smile. I did it for your own good. And look, you're living in luxury now. Don't you see? I gave you a better life. Ethan's cold voice cut in. Enough. Her mother turned, eyes narrowing at him. You're the one who bought her, aren't you? A cruel businessman, taking advantage of my poor blind child. Ethan's jaw tightened. You lost the right to call yourself her mother the night you sold her. The woman stepped closer, her tone sharp. She's my daughter. I have every right to take her back, or perhaps you'd like to pay me more to leave her here? Lila gasped. Mama. Stop. Don't talk like that. But her mother's greed-filled eyes glinted. You're blind, child. You'll always need someone to take care of you. And if this man doesn't pay, I'll drag you home myself. Ethan's fury burned. He stepped between them, his voice deep and commanding. She is not leaving with you. Not now. Not ever. A blind girl's tears, a greedy mother's demands, and a CEO's fury. Sometimes family is not blood, but the ones who fight for you. Lila trembled, caught between two worlds. The one she came from, a world of betrayal, hunger, and her mother's cruel words, and the world she was in now, where warmth had slowly begun to heal her broken soul. Mama, please, Lila whispered, her voice shaking. I don't want money. I just wanted your love. That's all I ever wanted. Her mother scoffed. Love doesn't buy bread, girl. Love won't protect you. Do you think this man really cares for you? He's only keeping you until he grows bored. Ethan's hand tightened into a fist. His voice was icy. You will not speak to her like that. The woman smirked. And what will you do, Mr. CEO? Pay me off? That's all you know, money and power. But deep inside, you're just as cruel as they say. Lila's heart cracked. The words stung because they reminded her of the fear she once had about him. Could her mother be right? Was she just another possession to him? But before doubt could poison her fully, Ethan stepped forward. He placed his hand gently on her shoulder and spoke clearly. She is not my possession. She is under my care. And unlike you, I will never abandon her. Lila's breath caught in her throat. His words were strong, filled with a truth that shook her to the core. Her mother sneered, then turned toward Lila. So this is your choice? A man you barely know over your own blood? Tears ran down Lila's cheeks. Her voice was small but steady. You stopped being my mother the day you sold me. The woman gasped, anger flashing in her eyes. Ungrateful child. You'll regret this. She stormed out, her footsteps echoing. Silence followed. Lila collapsed into tears, shaking uncontrollably. Ethan knelt beside her, his arms hesitating before wrapping gently around her. You're safe now, he whispered. She will never hurt you again. And for the first time, Lila leaned into his embrace, her heart finding a home in the place she least expected. He swore he had no heart. She believed she had no worth. Yet love grows strongest in the places we least expect it. The days after her mother's visit were different. Ethan no longer kept his distance. He found himself drawn to her laughter, her quiet resilience, her unshakable hope despite everything. One evening, as rain pattered against the windows, Ethan found Lila sitting at the piano again. Her fingers danced across the keys, weaving a melody that was both sorrowful and beautiful. When she finished, she turned toward him. Mr. Cross, why are you always so kind to me, when the world calls you cruel? He stood silent for a long time, staring at her fragile frame. Then he finally answered. Because you're the only one who doesn't want anything from me. Everyone else, they see my money, my power. But you only ask me what the sky looks like. Lila smiled faintly, her blind eyes glistening. And what does it look like tonight? Ethan walked to the window, his voice soft. Dark. Stormy. But beautiful. Because even through the storm, the moon is trying to shine. Her lips parted, trembling. Ethan, it was the first time she spoke his name, and it sent a shock through him. He moved closer, his hand lifting to brush a strand of hair from her face. You've changed me, Lila. I don't know when, or how, but you did. Her heart raced. But I'm broken. I can't even see your face. He leaned closer, his forehead resting gently against hers. You don't need to see me. You already see my soul. For the first time, Lila felt truly cherished, not as a burden, not as property, but as a woman worthy of love. But even as their hearts awakened, shadows lingered. In the city, rumors began to spread. The ruthless CEO had taken in a blind girl, protecting her, caring for her. And whispers of scandal threatened to destroy everything. The storm came swiftly. News outlets questioned why the CEO was living with a blind girl. Rivals mocked him, saying he had grown weak. Investors worried about his judgment. Ethan stood tall through it all. But what mattered most was Lila. She sat quietly in the garden, listening to the chaos beyond the mansion's gates. Ethan, she said one night, her voice trembling. Maybe I should leave. I don't want to ruin your life. His eyes burned with anger, not at her, but at the thought of losing her. He took her hands firmly. Don't you dare say that. You are not my weakness, Lila. You are my strength. Her tears fell freely. But I'm blind. He lifted her chin gently. And yet you see me more clearly than anyone ever has. Days later, Ethan did something unthinkable for a man of his power. He held a press conference. Cameras flashed as he stood before the world, Lila's hand in his. This is Lila, he declared. She is not my possession. She is not my scandal. She is the woman I love. The world gasped. Some mocked. Some admired. But none could deny the fire in his voice. Beside him, Lila squeezed his hand, whispering through her tears. You really mean it? He bent down, his voice meant only for her. I have never meant anything more. The mansion that once echoed with silence now rang with music, laughter, and love. The blind girl who had been sold like an object was no longer broken. She was cherished, valued, and free. And the cruel CEO who once had no heart had found the one person who made him human again. She was blind, betrayed, and unwanted. He was cold, ruthless, and feared. But together, they found a love that healed their deepest scars. This was not just a story of a CEO and a blind girl, it was proof that no darkness can ever stop the light of love. Backhand index pointing right. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Love Chapter by Aree for more emotional and heart-touching stories.